Oh hi there and welcome back, Traders of the Rim. When we last left off, Xanadu was infected by the plague, so here I am checking her plague versus immunity. Looks okay for right now. The next day, as everybody's working, Colt's researching, Jenny's crafting, we get a quest for some hyperweave cloth. Hyperweave is pretty good, it's very expensive, but as I look into this quest, I see that it's pretty far away from our colony, and we'd have to send out a caravan, and it's not really something I want to do at the moment. So I go back and I check on Xanadu, and I see that the plague is now at 64% and their immunity is at 60, so that does not look very good. As I'm checking this out, we finish smithing, which is fantastic because now we need to go into machining in order to get our gun turrets. However, as I'm looking about, I see that we haven't done microelectronics, and that would be really good because that would give us our comms console to do some trading. And then I go back and I check on Xanadu, and I see that we can tend on her soon, so I see what kind of medicine we have, and I go in to set her meds to something higher, and then unfortunately Xanadu passes away from the plague. And I'm not going to lie, I was really sad at this point. I wasn't going to end the series, but I was legitimately sad. So I decided that I'm going to build a sarcophagus for Xanadu, so that way she could be remembered, since she was a founding member of this colony. And I think about where I want to place this sarcophagus where everyone would be able to see it. And I decide right next to Colt's patch of rice is the best place for her. And then I see Trustin trying to take Xanadu into the butcher station, and I forbid that, so I stop him, I recruit him, and I forbid Xanadu from being touched until we get the sarcophagus built. And as we are building the sarcophagus, a donkey self-tames. So I guess with death there is a rebirth, and with our donkey, so we will have a donkey here shortly. And I notice that there's also a dead guy up here. I don't know how that dead guy died, but I know that he has some pemmican and a bow, so we'll take that. Later that day, our sarcophagus is built, and we have Xanadu here being put into the sarcophagus to rest in peace, and she is somewhere where we will be able to admire her. And oddly enough, the sarcophagus has some art on it. It's portrayed of Trustin practicing Hall with the husky thinks of simpler days when he was a feral beast. The husky is trembling in fear. This depiction relates to Trustin training the husky on the 4th of December, 5500. And with that, our donkey enters in our camp, so I set up the training orders so that way they can learn the Hall. She will never take the place of Xanadu, but it's always good to have an animal that can haul around. So I set their location to area 1 so that way they can get some food and it'll be easy to train them. Later on, I'm taking a look at the overhead maps, and I'm just making sure that we're not building anywhere that insects will be able to spawn hives and attack us. So I always just try to make sure that our buildings are in the right locations. I've also set up a doorway on our kill box, so that way we can start putting up a roof. I want to keep that door open and close it only in case we have emergencies. I also want to set up our roofing so that way we take out all of the roof above where our invaders will be able to enter. So that way it gives them less cover and hinders their shots a little bit. I want to keep the roof above us so that way it throws our attackers off a bit. And I'm throwing some barricades down there so that way we have some walls to hide behind and some barricades to hide behind when we are fighting. And then I put up some sandbags in front of where we're eventually going to have turrets. And I'm currently setting that to be made out of blue fur. As the roof goes up, it seems that everything is going well in the camp. I also think about taking out these oak trees because I want to give our attackers absolutely nothing to hide behind, so eventually I will take those oak trees out. And And once again, I'm just removing that roof to make sure that we have no roofing where the attackers could be. And there's Jenny and Tristan taking it down. And a little while later that evening, we see that some chunks of spacecraft have fallen from the sky, which will be good to get some components from in the future. You see Tristan is out hunting some alpacas, and Evan is soon joins him with his bow, trying to increase their skills. Looks like Evan is a better shot than Tristan. In fact, Tristan shot the wall, so Jenny had to go repair it. Tristan really needs to work on that. With that, a Muffalo Shaman from the Kin League shows up. It just seems like it's just one person. They don't seem like they have anything to trade, so we just kind of let them go. Evan's already back out there, throwing his bow arrows around, doing some hunty things. Later that day, we have Jenny working on some art right before she grabs some food. And that reminds me of one of the quests that we have available for the brain wiring. I decide just kind of let it go, and Jenny has just created her first sculpture ever. So take a look at it. It's a poor sculpture. It's not fantastic. However, we are going to put it in our main room because it does offer a beauty of 25. I'll eventually replace that with something better, but 25 is better than nothing. I'm going to take a look at our heal root. It's almost ready to harvest. In fact, it is ready to harvest. McCartney's shuttle shows up, so hey McCartney, you've done a lot of eating and sleeping, so get out of here. And we send him on our way, and we get some relations with Thea. We also get that Glitter World medicine, so we are happy. I decided that I'm going to put down some concrete inside the kill box, so that way it gives our enemies absolutely nothing to hide behind. And when this first happened, I did not realize how fast concrete was laid down, as Tristan lays it down extremely quick. Jenny also does it very fast. I was not expecting this flooring to be completed as quickly as it was. But with this, there's no trees that can grow, there's no anything else that can grow. It is always just going to be completely barren for our enemies as they pass through this area. And with that, it looks like our kill box is completely done. It's pretty awesome. We still haven't had to test it out yet, but we want to. And since I'm on the playing flooring game, I'm going to go ahead and add some paved tiles between our buildings that'll allow our colonists to speed up as they walk slightly, and that'll also make everything just look more pleasing to me, if not the colonists. And a little later that day, I throw down some marble tiles in our other bedroom, so that way we can have everything looking nice. And a buck has self-tamed. So with the loss of Xanadu, we now have a buck and a donkey. I take a look at the buck's stats, and I don't see that it can haul anything. And I go check and I confirm that it cannot haul anything, so that's quite sad. I do see that it has a nuzzle skill, which will boost the colonist's moods. However, it's a 2.5 day interval. That's not fantastic. When the roof fell up here, I realized that my entire electrical system had fallen apart, because the one thing that the roof did damage when it fell was that conduit, that single conduit, which didn't allow any of our other electrical equipment to get power from the batteries at night, or vice versa. Our batteries get charged from anything else. And later that day, we see that the colonists are gathering to celebrate the marriage of Tristan and Jenny. That's fantastic. What a great day this has been. So Jenny's in there waiting for her man. Colt's cleaning. Now they're all socializing. And I see Tristan just laying around. And I get nervous that he's going to miss the party. So what do? I draft him to try to make him go in there. And when I draft him, it cancels the marriage ceremony. So this is the second time this episode that I've been pretty sad. I didn't know that would happen. I checked to see if there was any debuffs because of this. It didn't seem like there was. And then we have our first raid of the episode. So we've got so much bad happening, but now we have a raid, so we'll be able to try out our kill box. So I check and see where it is and who it is. Seems to be only one guy with a club, so I'm not too worried about it. Later that evening, they plan their attack as they start marching down. Well, when he starts marching down, so I draft all of the colonists because they all now have ranged weapons, and we wait. And it seems like I got into place a little too early. As our invader makes his way down, I speed up time, and once again we just wait. And this is where the test comes into play if we made this kill box too small. It does look like we did, as those bullets could have gone a lot further. However, we did down him. He's now a dead person. So I place a grave. I decide that I'm going to place a grave right out there, so that way all of our incoming attackers have to walk over this dead person. So I have Trustin dig the grave. Well, I thought I had Trust dig the grave. And I realized that I actually built a sarcophagus. So I redo that, make a grave, and then I have Trustin dig the grave, and then I'm going to have Trustin bury this intruder. As you can see, they're getting a debuff as they walk by the dead guy. They don't like dead bodies, which is why I'm building that grave, so that way none of my colonists have to look at the dead body. Then he goes out and repairs the wall from the damage, and then everyone gets some sleep. And while they're sleeping this evening is when I decide that I'm going to plan out the next part of the kill box to make it a little bit longer, so that way we have some better defenses for the incoming attacks that I am sure we're going to run into. And as I'm doing that, we have another transport pod crash. This time, it is not a space refugee, it's a guy from Golar. He is up to the north of the base. It looks like he's got about 5 hours to live, a couple gunshot wounds and a cut. So he is pretty far away. It's at this point that I decide to make that other guest room into a prison cell, a temporary prison cell, because I have some better ideas or other ideas that I want to do for my prison cell. And then I have Jenny go out and capture this hostile being. He gets thrown into the prison. We're tending to his wounds, taking care of him. And finishing up the last bit of the marble flooring, we have a case of mad squirrels. So we just had a raid, and now we have a mad squirrel that is trying to infiltrate our base and eat all of our colonists. So I know that the squirrels don't wait around, so I do grab everybody and I draft them, and then I start placing them behind the pillars to provide some cover as our mad squirrel makes her way in. Does run really fast, gets by everybody, which once again shows that we need to improve this kill zone, and bites Trustin. So then I have Trustin move out, we end the threat, and I dismiss everybody. I see that there's a couple bites and a scratch, and that's when I see the other squirrel, where Colt is cleaning up the blood, and there is another rabid squirrel. I did not realize this. So I decide to have Colt take a shot. He's not quick enough, and then I regroup everybody, back them out, so that way they will be able to take some shots as the squirrel comes through. And very quickly that comes to an end. A couple days pass, not a whole lot has changed. And we have another quest. This is the Royal Assent. We don't have anybody that has the title of Count or Countess yet, so we're not going to be able to take this, but it is for an off-world passage. And then Pollock, the housewife, is no longer incapable of walking. However, we're still going to take care of him, keep him all well fed and everything. We're just going to reduce our resistance to practice our social skill. And we see that the price there is only 175 silver for this person. So we're going to continue caring for them and making them better so that way the price increases. Now right here I'm taking a look at the prison break interval. We have 166 days right now with the way this person feels and their opinion of us. And as we see this person start healing a bit, we see the prison break interval decrease. So I'm not entirely sure how that works. I will look into that. And here we see Trustin training Donkey and finally trained Haul. So our Donkey can now haul things. So I unrestrict their movement so now they can go everywhere in the map and haul things that we may need. And we see Evan hauling some chunks to make some more blocks to finish off the flooring in the jail cell, as the flooring in most of the other areas have been already completed. The next day we catch up with Trustin and Jenny, who is working on the prison cell, trying to make it look a little bit nicer. And we once again check on the prisoner. We see that they've healed a bit, their opinion of us have changed, and their prison interval has changed. And I do have this set to mine out that entire marble chunk there, so every time that we mine out a piece of that we have to replace it with our granite wall. And as I'm working on our new kill zone, we see that Pollock is completely healed, which means they will be walking around their cell. Shouldn't really be a big deal for us though. You may notice here that I laid down another slab of granite next to the entrance there. That is a mistake and I will have to fix that. We don't want to have any of the invaders have a place to hide. And then we see Pollock have a resistance of just 2. The trade price has gone up to 1200, which is pretty good. That relates to their health and their skills. They don't have a great skill set, but we will look for a trader that can come by and pick this person up from us. And I put down the orders to lay down more concrete. Once again, we see Jenny talking to Pollock and it reduces their resistance by 0.8. That means that if we were going to recruit them, we'd have a better chance to do so. I don't really want to recruit this person. Instead, I'm just practicing that social skill. And check out the prisoner's well-being to make sure that they are still somewhat healthy. And we see Evan over there cloud watching on the cold concrete floor. And then once again I decided to edit the home area so that way people don't go outside to clean. And as I'm putting down the sandbags for the gun turrets, we see that the prisoner is now completely broken of all resistance and they do want to join us. However, once again, we are not going to recruit them. And with that, I think we'll start calling this episode a close as we see Trustin mining out that marble, Jenny hauling our last bits of camel hide. A lot's happened in this episode. It was quite emotional. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far in the series and would like me to continue, please drop a like. If you have any suggestions or advice, please drop in the comments. I will see you next time.